Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our North Middlesex December 17th council meeting. Call the meeting to order. It is with great respect that we acknowledge the land that we are gathered upon here today. It's a traditional territory of the Adirondacks, Inabeg, the Haudenosaunee, and the Lenapehoik peoples. It is through the connection with the spirit of the land, water, and air that we recognize their unique cultures, traditions, and values. Together as treaty people, we have a shared responsibility to act with respect for the environment that sustains all life, protecting the future of those generations to come. At this time, I believe, Councillor Daigle, you have something you'd like to bring to council?
Thank you, Mayor Rupp. In the past, we've congratulated people with the residents of our municipality for outstanding achievements, and I would like to bring one to council's attention. It is a West McGilvery resident, Matt Talbot, and he has just made the Canadian cross-country team. And I think that's pretty respectable, and I think we should send our congratulations out to him.
Thank you, Councillor. And if we could, I think that's direction enough to send congrats out. All right, disclosure of pecuniary interest. I have none handed to me yet. If there is any, please forward them through to the clerk. Minutes of the previous meeting from December the 3rd, the regular meeting. Any errors or omissions or business arising from it? Seeing none, we need a motion to accept the minutes. Councillor Irwin, Councillor Nerda, all in favor? Carried. Delegations, we have Jess McPhail is coming to the CIP update. And I believe he's online with us, correct?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that's correct.
All right, we can hear you fine, so go ahead when you're ready.
Perfect. So good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. If you'll remember, I was speaking to you in early October with respect to the proposed updates to the community improvement plan for North Middlesex. So if you'll recall, as part of a joint initiative with the County of Middlesex, North Middlesex, Lucan Badolph, and Strathroy-Caradoc, we've been working over the last better part of a year to review the community improvement plans in these communities and propose some updates and look at different programming and ways in which we can better support affordable housing development in the community. So in October, in lieu of going over in detail a lot of the information that hasn't really changed since October was presented, there were a couple programming updates that we've been working on with staff since those original proposals came forward, and one that is highlighted in the staff report and the memo to council tonight. So the key kind of focus of these updates is really on the financial incentives that are offered in the municipality. One of the biggest changes being proposed is just with respect of the introduction of a tax increment grant program to the affordable rental housing program. This will seek to use future tax revenues following the redevelopment of a property to help support, and in the form of you could call it a rebate or a tax rebate based on the number of affordable units provided as part of that development. But insofar as the changes that have been made since the original proposal was put forward, we've been working with staff to address some of the concerns that were raised just with respect to the amount of time that was originally proposed for the tax increment grant. So originally, maybe what I'll do is I've got just a brief 2-slide deck here just to kind of highlight the main change that's taken place. And this is highlighted in the staff report. But I just want to just zoom in here. So I'll show the initial program that was proposed in October and earlier this year. I was looking at a 25-year program wherein an annual grant would be paid based on the level of affordability and the number of units provided at that affordability level in a new development. So let's say you have a vacant lot that's redeveloped and you've got 10 new units that are used as rental units. and let's say two of them are offered at a rate of any of these one percentages less than average market rent for the area, they would be eligible for an annual grant for a set period of years. So in talking with staff and workshopping this over the last few months, we've come up with some changes that are a little more appropriately scaled to North Middlesex's context, and some changes that staff are a little more comfortable with, and myself are a little more comfortable with bringing forward to council tonight and for successful implementation in the CIP. So some of the changes to two of the key changes that have been made to that program. The first was the introduction of a construction cost matching grant. So this is an existing format that is offered in the CIP. And this would offer a grant on a per unit basis, a one-time grant on a per unit basis based on the affordability level achieved. So in working with staff, there were some concerns raised by council as well as members of the EDAC committee that the average market rent numbers being reported by CMHC sometimes don't really align with the local what we're seeing at the local level, particularly if you don't have a larger urban center to rely on. So we've worked with staff to implement a range that's a little more flexible, we'll call it, for eligibility. So the affordability levels here that are determine the level of grants are near market unit and affordable unit. A near market unit would be a unit that is rented at anywhere from 100% to 100%, or 100% to 120% rather, of average market rent for the same unit in the municipality. And they'd be eligible for a $5,000 grant per unit. And we have the affordable unit, which would be anything under 100% of average market rent, and they'd be eligible for a $10,000 per unit grant. So these would be as part of the construction cost matching. So these would be a percentage of the estimated construction costs, and these would be payable at project completion on a one-time basis. The other major change was for the tax increment grant. So prior to these changes, we were looking at a 25-year grant period where grants would be paid annual on a basis of the number of units offered at each affordability level. That grant period has been reduced to 10 years now, with the option for the municipality to extend that if there is a desire to do so. So it's a little less onerous for the municipality as well as the applicant at this stage to start with that 10-year mark, which is still a considerable amount of time to have an affordable unit. So with the tax increment grant, this one would be a recurring annual grant payment that would be tied to the affordability level and the number of units offered at that affordability level. So let's say you have a 10-unit rental building and two of those units are offered at an affordable rate, so less than 100% of average market rent. You'd be eligible for $3,000 per year per unit. So you'd be looking at $6,000 total on an annual basis over a period of 10 years. Now, some of the, we'll call them safeguards that are in place to make sure that this doesn't kind of run wild with respect to grant amounts. The overall maximum grant payable is tied to a percentage of the tax increment. So the tax increment is the tax revenue pre-development versus tax revenue post-development. So the difference between those two numbers is used to source that grant. So it would be 50% of that net difference between the redevelopment. So you're using that new revenue from that redevelopment to source this grant. So it is called a grant, but it's largely a rebate on the future taxes that would be realized on that redevelopment, ultimately with the purpose of making sure that the units that are being supported under this program are maintained at that minimum affordability level in order to continue to be eligible for that grant. So that's just a bit of a highlight of just kind of the major changes that have taken place since this was last presented to council in October. Some of the other changes that were made haven't changed. So the updates include some increases to some of the other grant programming that's offered just to reflect inflation and the rising costs of construction and materials, as well as some updates to language in the document to allow for participation from the county to help participate in these programs as well and offer a little more substantial incentive for affordable housing to be constructed. As a final note, I'll just say that all of these grants would be subject to an agreement, so a funding agreement that would be drawn up between the applicant and the municipality, and making sure that there's terms and conditions in there for making sure that eligibility requirements are maintained, particularly for those annual grant payments, reporting mechanisms for ensuring that those rental units are maintained as affordable, and any sort of default conditions. So if they aren't honoring that 10-year commitment for affordable housing, if there's any repayment requirements for those grant monies. Thank you. I'll be happy to answer any questions if there's anything more specific, but there hasn't really been too many other changes with respect to the amendments.
Okay, thanks, Jesse. Is there any questions from council on that report? Councillor Canellis.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Thank you for your presentation. I read it with a great deal of interest. I'm a strong believer in affordable housing, particularly in our rural communities. My concern is what's affordable in Toronto, it would not be affordable here. It's significantly different. Who determines what's affordable? Does the municipality do that, or is it a provincial body that does that?
Great question. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor. So the way we've set it up is it's a similar process to the way that the ministry set up the development charges exemptions. So what they use is CMHC data that's reported on a municipality basis. So North Middlesex will have an average market rent. Luke and Biddulph would have an average market rent. Now, because you're in the same kind of regional market area, there will be some overlap there. And I will say sometimes those numbers, and the reason why we revisited those numbers with staff is because you do need to take them with a little bit of a grain of salt when you are in a more rural area, because there's not as much data to pull from to develop those numbers. So the reliability kind of goes down the less dense of a center you are. That being said, we've made sure to work with staff with some flexible language in the document to make sure that the North Middlesex has the final say in how that number is determined, and if you're comfortable with that level. And the idea would be that the municipality on an annual basis would say, this is what the average market rent is for bachelor 1, 2, and 3 plus bedroom units. And that's what we're setting it at for this year. And we would recommend as a starting point to use the CMHC data because that's kind of that's what's reported and used by the province. But if you're seeing, and if staff are seeing, more anecdotal and more accurate data based on the local market, that can be adjusted. There's no hard and fast rules around having to use data that may not be accurate or maybe out of date.
Thank you. I do have one follow-up question, if I may, and that is each municipality, like again, a smaller municipality, I think we were like 6,000 people, is there a limit as to how many affordable units we could have in our community?
Great question through you, Mr. Mayor, again. There's no limit with respect to the number. For this program in particular, it would be kind of at the municipality's discretion as to how many grants you would want to offer and approve, and it would depend on budget. So obviously with an upfront grant like a construction cost matching, you'd be constrained by your CIP budget on an annual basis. For the tax increment one, that's a little bit different because it's kind of self-funding. So you don't need to really budget for that because you don't really know what's going to come the next year in terms of development. And the development will, it funds itself because it's the rebate on the taxes that are realized off that redevelopment. So there's not really a limit there, but there are some other considerations to make with respect to how much administration, or how much administrative work the municipality wants to take on with respect to administering these grants over a period of time and the budget.
Any other questions? Councillor Keogh?
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Jesse, just for clarification for anybody that is listening or watching this at home, this does not include any type of grant assistance for a single family dwelling. It must be a multi-unit residence. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So the way that the way that the tax increment is set up is it's for purpose-built rentals. And so what we have is I'm just going to make sure that I'm quoting the exact language there, because there are eligibility requirements in there. So with respect to this program, technically, it's just limited to making sure it's a purpose-built rental. and a minimum of one per property is maintained at an affordable rate. So technically speaking, the way it's set up, you could potentially have a single detached, but it would need to be constructed as a purpose-built rental and offered at an affordability rate and maintained at an affordability rate.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council on this? Seeing no other questions, thanks, Jesse. Thank you for your time, and I'll turn this over to Felicia for your report.
Thank you, and through you and to council. I just want to first thank Jesse for all of his work on this. We've been working on this for quite a while together, and I really appreciate the back and forth that we did for this CIP update. And essentially, this report is just to reflect everything that Jesse had just said. So the motion is that council receives report DD 10/2025 regarding CIP updates and amendments proposal as information, and that council considers bylaw 105 of 2025 to adopt amendment number 1 to the North Middlesex Community Improvement Plan during the reading of the bylaws.
Thanks, Felicia. Is there any questions for Felicia on this? Seeing none, is there a mover for that recommendation? Councillor Daigle, Councillor Irwin, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Thanks, Felicia. Our next is item 4.2, and that is the Else Craig Stormwater Management Plan update. And Cameron, I believe you're coming up for this. Evening.
Okay, just wanted to make sure it was working. Thank you, Mayor Rob. Great. So EXP was retained by the municipality of North Middlesex to complete the Elsa Craig Stormwater Management Master Plan. I believe we can probably skip this slide as well because yes. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So we held a public information center to gauge public engagement and recognize any issues that they were experiencing on their properties or in their neighborhoods, anything that they could help us identify and kind of implement in our implementation strategy. So the purpose of the PIC was to share some information about the master plan process, present the findings of the hydrologic and hydraulic analysis, and gather input from the community. So we presented the study objectives and the scope, the existing infrastructure conditions and their challenges, the technical analysis and results, and some preliminary strategies for stormwater management infrastructure renewal. So why does the municipality need a stormwater management master plan? With aging infrastructure and potentially undersized infrastructure, there are newer municipal guidelines that need to be adhered to, and it will assist with remedying flooding on private property and public lands. And as climate change continues to be a persistent issue that we face, effective stormwater management solutions are increasingly urgent. So as part of the master plan process, we identified a problem and opportunity statement that was to address deficiencies in the existing stormwater system, provide solutions to reduce flooding risks, support future development through sustainable long-term drainage strategies, and verify compliance with municipal standards. The master plan will address, or did address, existing stormwater infrastructure performance, and we identified any deficiencies within the system. We developed some strategies to improve the capacity, reduce flood risk, and enhance system resilience. We incorporated some updated hydrologic and hydraulic calculations to reflect current and future conditions. And we provided a framework for cost estimation for infrastructure replacement in Elsa Craig. So we'll just kind of gloss over the glossary for now, but these are just a bunch of terms that are used throughout the presentation. So we divided the study area by stormwater outlets. So you can see that there's drainage areas A through H. So the storm sewer system, it was divided into a series of individual drainage areas based on available information, be that as-built drawings, topographic information, even sanitary and water main infrastructure drawings, anything that we could get our hands on to help inform where these catchment boundaries were. So the ultimate receiving watercourse for Elsa Craig is the Asable River. There are a number of municipal drains that flow through the community. And these storm sewers that we'll see in the next slide drain to each of these as well. But flooding within these watercourses is generally outside of the control of the municipality, and therefore it wasn't necessarily accounted for in the improvement process. So our hydraulic assessment followed municipal guidelines to ensure that storm sewers were designed or evaluated against municipal guidelines to identify any substandard or deficient sewers. This was just using a standard design approach. So resulting from the hydraulic assessment, we found that there were roughly just as many pipes undersized as there are appropriately sized storm sewers within Elsa Craig. Additionally, we looked at adjacent infrastructure within the community because it would be prudent to incorporate some review of water main and sanitary infrastructure, as there are some efficiencies with constructing or reconstructing all of this infrastructure in one project rather than a single trench just for one piece of infrastructure. So the things that we looked at were CCTV inspections and the age of infrastructure for each the storm, sanitary, and water main. We developed a prioritization schedule that helped us determine the most at-risk areas. And as this is a stormwater management master plan, and that's the most important thing that we were looking at for the implementation strategy, we had a heavy bias on the capacity condition of the storm sewers. So as you can see here, this is a map of the highest priority streets, and you can see George Street is the entirety of George Street is probably the most deficient in terms of capacity and has some of the oldest infrastructure as well. Potentially also some CCTV issues along it. So after we prepared the prioritization for all of the catchments, we developed a cost estimation for each catchment based on a standardized cross-section for an urban treatment that's presented, I believe, in the following slide. But it's just to convert the rural streets that are present in Elsa Craig to a more urban approach with curb and gutter, sidewalks, and storm sewers beneath. So in conclusion, we assessed the existing infrastructure and compared its performance against municipal guidelines. We identified the undersized infrastructure for each catchment. We determined a proposed pipe sizing and developed a cost estimate for each of these areas. based on adjacent infrastructure and replacement of everything within the right of way. I believe that concludes the presentation. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thanks, Cameron. Questions from council? Councilor Irwin.
It is because we literally tested these right beforehand.
Deputy, was the deputy mayor? To your worship, if we can go back to slide 16, I just want to clarify what I heard. We're seeing some very large numbers here. Part of what you shared with us was that rural streets would be upgraded to urban standard with curbs, gutters, and sidewalks. Is that included in these prices here?
Yes, it is. Everything involved with storm sewer, sanitary replacements, and the curb and gutter, different layers of asphalt, granular material, sidewalks, everything's included.
Okay. All right. Other questions? Councilor Canales.
Again, referring to that slide that Councilor Irwin just mentioned there, if I look at the totals there for the contingency plus 5%, it's almost 8 million, but including engineering is 9.5 million. So is engineering about 1.5 million?
That's our estimate based on, I believe, carrying about 10 or 20% of the total construction cost. There might be some efficiency if you can have one consultant do many projects, but that's kind of a standard value that's taken for engineering versus construction costs.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from council? Seeing no other questions, thank you, Cameron. Thank you for your time. And Faisal, we'll turn it to you for your report.
Thank you, Worship. Good evening, everyone. To the Mayor and Member of Council, before you this evening is report DIO 102-2025 regarding the Alsa Creek Stormwater Management Master Plan project completion update for information. The municipality retained EXP services to complete the Stormwater Management Master Plan under Project IO 18-2025. This work was initiated to address aging stormwater infrastructure, hydraulic deficiencies, and climate resilience concerns in Alsa Creek. The 2025 reallocate budget of 54,721 was relocated from West William Street Pumping Station and Alsa Creek Wastewater Treatment Plant Expansion Environmental Assessment Project. The code from EXP services, including HST, is 54,721, with the project being completed on time and within the reallocated budget. Recommendation in front of council this evenings are as follows: that council receives report DIO 102-2025 regarding the Alsa Creek Stormwater Management Master Plan project completion update for information, and that the recommended capital and maintenance projects outlined in the master plan be recommended to head of council to be carried forward for consideration as part of future budget deliberations and as a part of overall municipality asset management works. Sam, XP and I are happy to answer questions if anyone has any.
Thanks, Faisal. Is there any questions for Faisal on this? No, we have a recommendation in front of us. What's your wish? Moved by Deputy Mayor Halligan, seconded by Councilor Irwin. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Cameron. Department reports, and our first one is from the planners, from Abby, I believe, if she's with us online. And that's the OPA 17-2025. Hi, Abby, can you hear us?
Hi, yes, I can. Let me just get my camera situated.
Okay, yep, just whenever you're ready.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. Through you to members of council. The purpose of this report is to provide council with an evaluation and recommendation on a municipally initiated housekeeping amendment to the official plan to implement Housing Accelerator Fund commitments. So as council may recall, the municipality did hold a public meeting and staff presented the information report at the October 1st, 2025 meeting. OPA 17 updates housing policies to better support a range and mix of housing options with a strong focus on additional residential units and gentle intensification. Some of the key outcomes include ending exclusionary zoning, removing unnecessary development restrictions, and providing clearer policy direction for ARUs and neighborhood compatible design. The amendment aligns the official plan with recent changes to the Planning Act, as well as the new provincial planning statement, which was implemented in 2024, as well as the county official plan, in addition to meeting CMHC's HAF program requirements. So notice was circulated in accordance with the Planning Act, and no agency or public comments were received. And in all, staff are satisfied that the amendment is consistent with the provincial planning statement and conforms with the county official plan. And as such, staff are recommending that council adopt OPA 17 and that it be forwarded to the County of Middlesex for approval. And I would just note that staff will be bringing an implementing zoning bylaw amendment forward in the new year for the HAF program. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Abby. Questions for Abby? Councillor Knellison.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Abby, I've read this with a great deal of interest in one, and particularly with the ARUs. Is there a minimum square footage required for a residential unit?
So that would be covered under the building code. Generally, like that's what we would rely on. We have looked at doing that in these bylaws, just due to experiences in other municipalities. What we end up bringing forward in the zoning bylaw is still kind of to be determined, but it is an option should council wish to move in that direction.
And my other question for you is, in the agricultural area, the rural area, at one time, I think the government was indicating that we could put up to 3 residential units on a parcel of farmland. Is that still the case?
Yes, thank you for your question through the mayor. So it's the exact same format for the 3 ARUs that are permitted as of right on full municipal services, just allowing them in the prime agricultural area subject to criteria. So we've been working on that topic through the county official plan. And then we kind of took what we learned through that exercise and have incorporated it to OPA 17 to North Middlesex's official plan.
So that leads me to one final question. When a home has been severed off of a 40-hectare parcel, and then there's a part in there where it says that no other home can be built on that particular parcel of land, is that now changed that they can be?
Thanks for your question. No, that's not the case. So when we rezone that remnant parcel as a result of surplus farm dwelling severance, you cannot build an ARU there either. The ARU has to be constructed in conjunction with a permitted residential dwelling.
That's very clear. Thank you.
Any other questions? No other questions for Abby at this time? Okay, we have a recommendation in front of you. What is the wish? Moved by Councillor Knellison, second by Councillor Daigle. All in favor? That is carried. Thanks, Abby. Our next item is from the Director of Infrastructure and Operations, the Blue Water Recycling Servicing update.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, and to you and all the members of council. Before you this evening is report DIO 100 of 2025, which provides an update on the Blue Water Recycling Program that staff have brought to council on a number of occasions now, based on the outcome of the last report that was brought forward, which had a couple of recommendations that came out of it for staff to largely conduct a public education and campaign session of sorts. So key highlights you'll note in my report, and a lot of this might be rework that I put in previous reports, but I'll just summarize it again a bit. The transition to producer-funded recycling in 2024 has resulted in significant cost savings with no change to service levels. These savings, create an opportunity to enhance waste diversion without increasing cost to residents. The Blue Water Recycling Association, in partnership with Try Recycling, has proposed adding weekly curbside organics collection. They brought forward 3 service models which were evaluated, as noted in the previous reports in this one, which were Proposal A, B, and C. A being municipality-wide with organics weekly, and then garbage and recycling biweekly. Proposal B, which was everything every week, and then Proposal C, which focused on doing the service in the urban centers only and not the rural centers. And then you'll note again that Proposal A remains the identified and preferred option from staff's perspective, which again is municipality-wide, provides the organics on a weekly basis, and then the garbage and recycling on a bi-weekly basis. And staff feel that Proposal A provides the most equitable service. It maximizes diversion, minimizes administrative complexity, and can be implemented at no additional cost to residents. And again, as directed by council from the last meeting, the public engagement, as you'll note in my report, showed that the more folks understood and the more we talked with folks, the support continued to increase for the program. And again, that's why we broke it up the way we did in the report. We set it out as such that this is sort of the surveys that we were receiving before we conducted the public consultation. These are the ones we received during the meeting, and these are the ones we received after. And again, you can kind of see the trend there that obviously before it was a lot of against, and then the more we talked to people and the more folks understood, that shifted to a lot more folks in favor than previous to when we did the public meetings that we did and put out the information that we did. A bit of financial summary that you'll find in the reports. In my report, are again that Proposal A results in no cost increase to residents, and in fact may actually be less expensive than the current program that we have in place. Try Recycling's costs are actually projected to be cheaper than the Watford dumps cost. So again, this is obviously a new program, so this is estimations at this point, but we expect that there is actually an opportunity to possibly have savings because again, Try Recycling's cost is less than the dumps cost. And all the options that we propose in the report remain well below what the historic program costs were for the programs that we've had previously. So I'll just summarize my report by finishing off with a few points here. The shift to producer-funded recycling has lowered municipal costs and created space to enhance local waste services without adding new pressure on residents. Introducing organics collection gives the municipality a way to increase diversion while still keeping overall system costs at or below previous program levels. Weekly organics captured paired with alternating garbage and recycling will provide a strong balance of convenience and efficiency while keeping household costs unchanged. Consistent service across the municipality has the potential to support stronger participation and higher diversion rates, which aligns with both environmental goals and resident expectations for fairness. The processing method proposed by Try Recycling produces high quality compost and reduces odor, which strengthens the environmental value of the program. And again, you'll find in my report that Try Recycling has agreed to give the municipality back a large load of that compost on a yearly basis. The council can elect to do what they wish with. Largely, we could give it back to residents or really do whatever we wanted to do with it. But again, Try Recycling has offered that to us. Again, I'll summarize that the public feedback we received showed that once residents understood the program, we saw a bigger shift towards support of Proposal A and B rather than remaining with the current service. The use of the green bin and program is entirely optional. So even if we do elect to go to this method of Proposal A, if someone doesn't want it and doesn't want to use it, they can send the bin back to Blue Water and they don't need to use it. It's an optional service. It's not something that they have to do if they don't want to. So that is something that we heard a lot. I don't want to do this. You don't have to if you don't want to. And then if they change their minds, they could certainly opt back in. They could contact Blue Water. They could get a bin and participate in the program. So it is an optional program, whether it seems so or not. They can choose to not get the bin and not use it, or they could change their minds and use it if they wanted to. And the one other thing that I put in my report that I just wanted to flag is that with the change to proposal A, another thing that we were hearing from residents was the bin won't fit enough of my material, my leaf and yard waste. It will only fit roughly 2 bags a week. That's not enough for me. If council will recall at the last year's schedule of fee when we did the 2025 increases, staff proposed and council approved changing the fees at the transfer station. That was largely due to the cost that it cost to run the transfer station versus the volumes that we receive. But staff fully expect that if we were to go forward with something like proposal A or B or C for that matter, the volumes that we would receive at the transfer station would likely be far less than they are now. And we would be comfortable with the discussion of changing the fees at the transfer station again. Because if we're receiving less volume, it will cost less to run, and thereby it won't be as cost efficient to run, which is why we had to increase the fees in the first place. So staff are comfortable that if we do go forward with something such as proposal A, we could alter the fees at the transfer station to allow the leaf and yard waste to be free. So for any of those folks where the 2 bags a week is not enough, they would still have that transfer station service available that they could come and bring the material there for free. One more thing before I jump into the recommendations, I just wanted to thank Blue Water Recycling, Michelle, and all the folks at Tri Recycling as well for all their assistance throughout the process. I think between all of them, there's been a lot of effort and involvement that have gone into this, so it's certainly very much appreciated. The recommendations before the council this evening, and then I'll turn it over to questions, are that council receive report DIO 100 of 2025, Blue Water Recycling update, proposed addition of organics collection for information, and that council support the submission of a letter intent to the Blue Water Recycling Association indicating the municipality's interest in participating in the organics collection program, and that staff be directed to advance proposal A, municipality-wide organics collection for consideration during the 2026 budget development. And Michelle from Blue Water is joining us here, so we're both available if anyone has any questions. Thanks.
Okay, questions? Councilor Nerda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is more of a comment. So I understand both sides of the argument, but from my own personal calls from ratepayers and this meeting, still 60% of people don't want the green bins. And you say that it's an option to not participate, but it's also not an option to get your garbage picked up every week. So for that, I won't be supporting this tonight.
Okay, thank you. Other questions, comments? No other questions? Councilor Nelson.
Sam, I'm struggling a little bit with the finances of it because Michelle, I believe when you were here the first time, you indicated it'd be about $55 a year per household, about $32, I think, for Tri Recycling and some to Blue Water for picking it up. And yet we're told that there's not going to be any increase in costs. Are we then overcharging currently for the recycling, which is not producer responsibility?
Do you want me to get Ralph to help out with that a little bit on the recycling part and the charges?
Through you, Mayor, to the councillor. There's been a misconception over the discussion of this process that we are actually charging for blue bins. We don't. We only charge for the black bins for the waste, and we only charge for them because they come in 3 different sizes. So depending on which of the sizes you pick is deciding what you get charged, and you get charged once a year on your tax bill. If you have a blue bin, which everyone does, it is not charged through your tax bill. It is charged through the regular budget process. It's a totally separate recycling line and a totally separate sub-department in the budget. So since 23, when the changes happened, we've gone from budgeting 223,000 plus on that line to 0. So what has happened is the ratepayers have been getting a break on the total levy as opposed to on the fees. The fees are just for the waste bins, not for the recycling bins. My recommendation would be if you're going to put in green bins and you're going to do it across the whole municipality the same way as blue bins, then you would just reintroduce that line into the budget and it would go against the levy, not that it would be an individual user rate fee. It would just be a general charge that you would control as best as we can.
For everyone, whether they use it or not?
Well, it's optional, but the idea is you want to promote the environmental impact of removing that waste stream.
But again, everyone would be expected to contribute to it, whether they use it or not, whether they choose to or not, correct?
True. And
Thank you.
I would ask Michelle to clarify that if it's everybody using it, the per unit cost is lower than if only half the people use it.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Through you, the mayor. So the cost to collect would be the same because we're still going by their house, whether they have a bin or not. The cost that would change would be the disposal rate from Tri, but it's actually a lower cost. What Tri is quoting on processing organics is actually lesser than the tipping fee to landfill the material at Watford at Twin Creeks.
Okay, thank you. Other questions? Deputy Mayor Hodgins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I guess my question is, Michelle, I 2 public meetings. I'm trying to give this as much thought as I can give it. Couple things in notes that I made, I've heard a lot of the rural people do not want this, or not just like it, they just don't want it. I just wonder what the feasibility or the financial feasibility of it is. If, when you're driving around and like you said, you're going to be going by everybody's household anyway, whether it's waste or recycling that day. But when you're driving by and only picking up possibly 1 green bin and I'm only speculating, this is an ideal, like every 100 houses, or maybe even every 150 houses, when in turn, if you didn't, you'd be still picking up both the recycling and the waste. Just curious, where's the financial feasibility of only picking up, let's say, 150 or so green bins every week? Your thoughts. Thank you.
Go ahead.
The mayor. So we would already, that's why the recommendation of A, going to bi-weekly for recycling and waste, would mean that they're already going to have another bin out there anyways. So it's only just not filling up one side of the truck as much as the other. With speaking in the community information sessions that we had, and speaking to the rural community, there was a fair few that said, no, I don't want a green bin, and that's their prerogative, they're allowed. But when I asked them, I said, okay, so you're composting at home, that's why you don't want one. And they said yes. And I said, so I'm assuming that when you're doing that, you're not putting your waste out every week. And for the majority of them, they said, yeah, I'm lucky to put it out once a month. So in that case, we're already going by every week and they're not putting their waste bin out anyways. So it's not really changing that for them.
Okay. Okay. Other questions? Comments? No. I would say that if we don't do it now, I believe we will be looking at it again in the future, that it will happen at some point. And I think it's just a matter of what council feels here now on this. And I do know that it's tough when the majority of the public are not for it at this time. It does cast different light. We did ask the public their opinion. And if you're going to ask their opinion and not use it, I did support this in the beginning, and I still personally support it, but because of what the public has put in here, I don't think I'm going to support it at this time, but I do believe we'll be doing it in the future. Councillor Keel.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. When this whole process was first originated, presented to us, it was more of a fear mongering that the Twin Creeks facility was going to fill up in 10 years, and boy, look out, were we ever going to get it then? And we've seemed to have drifted off that mark. At that time, I specifically asked for a presentation from Waste Management to come and see us, let us know what just what this was all about. And for that reason alone, I haven't seen that. I've asked for it. And I think I'm with the other councillors here that I can't support this because I didn't get what I initially asked for. And that was a good presentation from Waste Management on this. I know Courtney has been here 2 or 3 times, if not more. We've heard from Tri Recycling, but we're going back to this initial fear mongering presentation that the Watford dump was going to fill up. And for this reason, again, I can't really support this because I really don't see a need for it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I do, before we vote, I would like to say thank you, no matter how the vote is. I want to say thank you for all of your time and for TriStar as well and staff to put into this to help educate us all, including the public. And really, I do believe that regardless whether it happens today or not, we will be looking at this in I'll call it the near future to see what happens. But at this time, is there any more questions? Okay, we have a recommendation in front of us. What's your wish? Counselor Irwin,
I'll move the motion as presented, your worship.
move it as presented. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Counselor Daigle. Discussion on that? All in favor? 2 opposed? 5. We're looking for another recommendation. Counselor Irwin.
Thank you, your worship. I'd like to make a recommendation that we revisit the concept that has been raised 3 times in the past to council, that we have bins in both Elsa Craig and in Park Hill for bag, leaf, and yard waste.
Okay. Let's finish this one first. Let's finish this one first. We have not come to that was turned down. Is there another motion on this? I guess we don't really need one, do we? It was just,
Thank you, and through you, the motion was defeated, so it stays status quo. You
so it
get-
stays status quo.
Yeah.
We're good with that? Okay, thank you. Thanks. And we'll get a chance later on to talk on that. Okay, we'll give you a chance later, though.
I'll bring it up urgent business.
Other business? Yeah,
No, it's not.
okay, sounds good.
Thank you, worship. I'll bring that back under urgent business.
Okay, thank you. Next one is 5.3. Report from Director of Infrastructure on our wastewater systems report. Sam, that's you. No, this is Rod. Rod's and Sam. Welcome, Rod.
Thank you, your worship, members of council, municipal staff, for the opportunity to present to you tonight. I'm happy to report 3rd quarter operations for both water and wastewater. And I'd like to start off with the North Middlesex distribution system first. We have a total of 857 locates so far for 3rd quarter. We have done 44 repairs. 3 of them were water main leaks. 10 was water service leaks, and the remaining was service box, valve box, and blow off repairs. Staff was able to maintain distribution pressure during the Lake Huron primary water treatment plant shutdowns for the 3rd quarter. We have a total of 10 for the 3rd quarter, but I will be talking about this in the 4th quarter as well. We had 3 in October, 4 in November, and 2 so far in the month of December, which is a total of 19 shutdowns for 2025. And historically, we've been seeing about 4 or 5 on average. So this is a record year for us. MECP inspection was performed in the month of August, and I'm happy to report that we received 100% inspection rating. That's a number of years in a row, so we'll just keep that momentum going and we'll see what happens next year. Staff continue to work through the 3rd quarter on water loss program, which includes recent installation of our data loggers on all boundary meters, acoustic listening on water services, water valves and hydrants, pressure monitoring, and performing district metering areas within our vast distribution system. And again, this is all efforts to reduce our unaccounted water loss, which we're making very, very good progress on through the work that we're doing and through municipal staff and their new policies and procedures when it comes to water accounting. Capital projects, LC Craig, Queen Street Water Main Project, we've completed that. With SEMA Engineering and Mount Carmel Reservoir Engineering Design with Dillon's, having this reservoir with new piping, a new bypass, an additional 550 cubic meters which I'm very excited about, which will make a big dent in the water tankers that are being hauled. Any questions on the water system that you may have?
Questions on the water, Councillor Knellison.
Thank you. Rod, you mentioned the boundary meters. Are they on the outskirts of the municipality or within the wards, or where exactly are they?
They're strategically put on all the takeoffs from the big trunk main. That'd probably be the easiest way of saying it, because it's just, it's a little bit all over the place.
Okay, thank you.
So, yeah.
Okay, other questions? See none, go ahead.
So when it comes to the LC Craig and Park Hill Lagoon system, Aqua staff removed and replaced a 12-inch top discharge valve in the north discharge chamber at the Park Hill Lagoon system. Dealco Mechanical cored a new 12-inch discharge hole and installed a new 12-inch valve. Why I have this as a highlight is that any work that we can do within the regular business hours that you pay as daily operations is a savings to you guys. We can't compete with Dealco Mechanical because they do it on a regular basis. It took us about maybe 3 days, 4 days to get this work done, but we looked at about saving almost $8,000 for you when we did it in-house. Anytime I have an opportunity to do that, I will do that because there is cost savings there. Aqua staff performed a sanitary service repair on Park Hill Drive. And throughout the month of June, June, July, August, and even into September, operators adjusted the alum dosage according to increasing phosphorus levels. And this is at the LC Craig wastewater treatment facility. Again, when we have a dry summer, low flows, this is a contributing factor to us doing lab daily and adjusting that phosphorus, that chemical, on a daily basis in order to meet requirements. We did not have a non-compliance, but we did come close. Capital projects, LC Craig wastewater treatment plant, energy optimization. So again, this one we've been working on for a number of years. But I have to report heat pumps are installed, variable frequency drives are installed, the power monitoring is installed. So right now what they're doing is just switching over the HVAC equipment, exhaust supply fans that are on the existing control panels into these new control panels. So then we'll be off to the races and running here full, where we can monitor our energy and look at some incentives. So they were doing some work today. The last one should be tomorrow. And then we'll be looking at collecting data and hopefully get a nice incentive check for reducing hydro costs at this facility. William Street Sewage Pumping Station, LC Craig design. So this is the upgrade here that we're working with Dillon's. We're continuing on with that. LC Craig collection system, infiltration and inflow study, and the Park Hill Lagoon biosolid removal project that was completed here in the fall. So wrapping up the capital projects for us this year. Is there any questions on the wastewater system?
Questions on the wastewater? Councillor Daigle.
Rod, we've done, as you said, a lot of work on that LC Craig plant since it went in to reduce the hydro. Any idea how much we've reduced it?
Not yet, but it's the power monitoring is going to be the tell sign for us. But the idea is that these variable frequency drives are going to take these units that are operating at 100% and drop it down to 50%. So I would love to give you a number, but my fear is that I'd give you this bigger number and it'd be a little bit less. But it's going to do two things. It's going to save on hydro, and it's going to extend the life of the existing equipment that you have there, which is already, 20 years old. So those are the two exciting things that I have for that plant. And if it works really well, I got some other projects that are right behind it that we're going to continue on to reduce that hydro at that facility.
Okay. Other questions? I would have one. My question is with the lagoons. We talked last year how much money we spent on chemicals for the lagoons. We talked that if we dredge them, that could cut down the amount that we use. Is that still the case? Because it was 130,000.
We've actually, yeah, it's been going up. When we first started, we were spending maybe $60,000 a year. Now we're budgeting $150,000 a year just in chemical costs. But the hope is that with removing these biosolids and the chemical treatment is not going to be as much of But next year, 2026 will be the telltale sign.
Okay.
Because this is the actual year that we can go through without having seen the biosolids removed. We still budgeted 150,000. If I can get it for 100, save 50, that's the goal.
It would be nice if we could spend the extra money that we save on that into maintenance and ongoing maintenance on the lagoons. And I think, Sam, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I'll just add, your worship, certainly this year, and Rod didn't mention it, but we are projected to spend under on budget this year for chemicals. So it is a good start that what we budgeted this year, we're already projecting to spend less. And I share Rod's sentiment. That should hopefully just continue going forward.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? Councillor Keel?
Thank you, Mayor Rob. The chemicals that we are using for the lagoons, is that coming from the US or is it a Canadian content? Like, is there tariffs imposed on bringing this stuff?
No,
in?
well, I don't know where it's coming from, but the plant that I buy it from is in Niagara Falls region.
Okay.
So it's a Canadian-based company that I buy it from that ships it in a day. So if I order it this week, it'll be in next week, like on a Wednesday type of thing.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, Sam?
Yeah, just to add, your worship, just to my report that accompanies what Rod mentioned here. I won't reiterate all the things that Rod just mentioned there. So I guess I'll just add a couple things before I add my recommendations. I'm going to say a lot of thank yous tonight, but I just wanted to thank Rod and all his Aqua staff for all the great work that they've done this year. As Rod's highlighted in all these reports that we have come to council, we have a record year for a lot of things, and a lot of them aren't good things, but there's still things that we're going through. So again, I thank Rod and his team for all the great work that they do. The recommendations that I'll tie on to the information that Rod's presented tonight and my report that accompanies it is that council receive report DIO 101 of 2025, Q3 2025 North Middlesex Water and Wastewater Report for information, and the council received the appended Ontario Clean Water Agency memorandums and client operations reports. And assuming anyone has any other questions, certainly Rod and I can answer those. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, we have a recommendation in front of you. Moved by Councillor Nerda, seconded by Councillor Keel. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Have a good Christmas. All right, our next item is 5.4, report from Director of Infrastructure and Operations, and that is the municipal fleet changes. Who's starting this?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I will start it to you and all the members of council, and then certainly I'm joined by the Manager of Public Works, and he can help me answer any questions or talk through the report if anybody has any. If council will recall, at a recent meeting through policy committee, we brought some changes to fleet that we had highlighted. We would be bringing a subsequent report to council as it relates to changes we were making internally with how we are dealing with fleet. So we're happy to bring this report forward for all of you this evening. So before you this evening is report DIO 88 of 2025, which again, just at a high level overviews the process changes that we are making internally as it relates to the municipal fleet and the fleet operations. Some key highlights of the report is that the municipality is going to be transitioning away from what's historically been a decentralized fleet model where all the departments manage their own fleet. And we're going to be moved more towards a centralized fleet approach where all fleet, hopefully going forward, as of a couple months ago, when we've started making a lot of these changes, is that fleet will be centralized under the infrastructure and operations department. Corporate fleet management policy was developed and approved. Again, that came through policy committee and council, which sort of establishes standardized driver expectations and responsibilities, and generally gives a policy in the way of how we manage our fleet corporate wide, the expectations of employees, how they're expected to use fleet, all that kind of stuff. Staff are working in the background on changing the way we do circle checks. Right now, we do all of our circle checks on hard copy paper. We're working in the background on hopefully transitioning that away to a more citywide based approach. Citywide is a software that we use for a number of things, and it can also be used for something like this. The hope is that we're trying to make this fleet program as self-sustaining as possible. Citywide is very smart in the sense that for a vehicle, we can set citywide up as, for example, every 500 kilometers, tell us it needs an oil change, that kind of stuff. So we're trying to move towards a more proactive approach. So from a staffing perspective and how much effort it kind of takes, it hopefully reduces a lot of that burden. As previously presented to council, we already use GPS technology in our vehicles, but we are also looking to move towards both GPS and dash cameras. Again, the idea is that we're not just going to be monitoring these things all the time, but if we ever needed them or anything like that from a health and safety perspective, they are there. So assuming that gets approved through the 26 budget discussions, we'll also be looking to move towards dash cameras in our vehicles as well. And then again, going forward, starting in 2026, we are going to be providing council with a quarterly update on fleet, likely just through the infrastructure and operations reporting that we already do now. But we want to make sure we provide a bit of a quarterly update on the fleet operations stuff that we do. So the recommendations before you this evening, and then I'll open it up to questions that either Brandon or myself can answer, are that council receive report DIO 88 of 2025, municipal fleet process changes for information. And again, Brandon and I can answer any questions. And obviously, this is a new thing, so we'll continue to report to council as things change or as it evolves. But we look forward to continuing to work on this. I think it's going to be really great for all of us, and we'll just kind of see where it goes. So again, I'll open it up to questions. Thanks.
Thanks, Sam. Questions from council? Councilor Keel.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Sam, you mentioned the citywide and that is the software provider. So if in the event someone was to go and do a circle check, whether it be on a truck or a Honda, they walk around it. Currently, they're writing this down on a sheet. Okay. If it goes to a software, do they have to go back in and log into their system and do it on a laptop? Or is there going to be hardware that's going to be in each vehicle?
Through the mayor to the councilor. So Citywide has an app form on their phone. So everybody on their work phones can get access to it through that process. So it's the same way they would get work orders for work. It's through the same process that way.
Then
Go
just
ahead.
one more.
Yep.
Will this also track the service records as far as what costs have been put into each vehicle? So if we've got one that seems to be a bit hard on us financially, we can look at moving that down the road. Like that is all incorporated in this citywide.
Through the mayor to council. Yeah, that would be the process. Everything moving forward, repairs, everything that would be processed through Citywide. So there's a record of everything being done per fleet, per asset, in fleet.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Sam, did you have something on Ed?
No, your worship, Brandon mentioned. I was just going to say Citywide has the capabilities where you can tie everything back to assets. So certainly the plan is that whatever that fleet asset is, all the work orders would get tied to it, and then it would just kind of keep track of it that way.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Ellison.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. I think just to further expand on Councillor Keel's comments about the maintenance of the vehicles and the ones that are troublesome, the life cycle of equipment has always troubled me somewhat because just because it's 10 years, does that mean that the vehicle is completely wore out? Will this impact and extend the life cycle of vehicles or some of our fleet?
Through the mayor to the councilor. Yeah, this would help us maybe prolong more assets that are doing well. They're not costing us much money that we can maybe use longer periods instead of always doing it every 10 years.
Okay. And one follow-up question I have, unless you have something you want to add.
Yeah, I just want to add, your worship, to the council. Certainly moving away from the decentralized model to the centralized model, we want to start looking at things less of a department versus department kind of thing and more of just a fleet thing. So if we start treating it that way, then it won't be a we need this and they don't kind of battle. It'll just be this is our fleet and these are kind of the priorities. So we're hoping that if we move towards that, it will help us with that for sure.
And you open it up for my next question, because my next question is going to be the fire department. Will you also include the fire trucks in your fleet management?
Through your worship to the councillor. So the discussions we've had to date is for year one, we're going to be starting as all plated vehicles minus the large fire trucks. After the second or the first year, sorry, we're going to be hopefully moving towards all plated vehicles plus all assets over 5,000. So that would include things like lawnmowers and things of that nature. And then at that time, we're looking to hopefully move fire trucks under that as well. So ideally, within the next 2 years, we'll have everything under that if it works well.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilor Keel.
Just had a thought. What is the cost of this luxury?
Through your worship, the council, the luxury of our time. Is that what you mean?
That's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, We're just doing it as part of the work that we do. I think even just between other departments working together, we all feel it's the best. So we're happy to do it. And we're fortunate that the clerk that we have, Celeste, obviously coming from Service Ontario, she has a lot of this experience already. So it's kind of been a seamless transition in that way that she's just been able to dive right in and help us there. So
Perfect. All right.
I just wanted to add one comment that I've overlooked. And that's
Okay.
that I really do like the idea of the dash cams. I think it's a real asset and it hopefully prevent some liability issues. Good.
Okay. No other questions? We have a recommendation to accept this for information. Counselor Daigle, Deputy Mayor Hodgins, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Thanks, Sam. The next one is it's your quarterly report.
yeah, thank you, Your Worship, and to the members of council. It's the last one for me this evening, but before you is report DIO 97 of 2025, which provides a quarterly update to council for the infrastructure and operations department. The report is obviously quite comprehensive, so I won't go through the entire thing. I'll just focus on some key highlights here, and then each department, some highlights there as well. As far as the drainage group goes, there was significant progress made across drainage billing, construction, maintenance, planning activities, and the drainage group as a whole. They've done what appears to be a record amount of work this year, and we're projecting for equal to, if not more, work next year. Certainly with the addition of Kristen to that group and the two of them dedicated to it, they've been able to get a lot of things done, and they're in a really good spot. So again, significant progress has been made in the drainage group. Several major infrastructure capital projects were completed or are reaching their final stages, which includes the dredging project, the water tower project, the culvert replacement on Cassidy, the Sylvan Road reconstruction, a lot of the stormwater management master plans that have come through council, the I&I study. Most of our projects this year are more or less done or will be done by the end of the month. They include the water meter program and things of that nature. So a lot of the major projects that we had scheduled from a capital perspective are either done or nearly done by the end of the month. Again, you'll note in my report that development activity remains strong and staff remain heavily involved in quite a number of development applications or proposals. Every quarter, the numbers just seem to be going up. So again, that is something that staff are continuing to work a lot in, is the development portfolio. Public Works are completed a lot of the seasonal programs through the summer, fall, and have obviously fully transitioned now into the winter season with the weather that we've been having. And then I'll just finalize, I guess, by saying, and again, I'm happy to answer any questions after, but I won't go through all the information in there. I think I like to keep them apprised of this all the time, but this is the last thank you I'll provide. I thank all the members of my team for all their hard work and dedication. I think we've done both quality and quantity of work this year. So I certainly appreciate everything that's been done this year, and I look forward to carrying that momentum forward in 2026. So thank you to all my team. And again, I'm available for questions if anybody has any. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Sam. Questions, for Sam, on this?
Sam, I know that a while back you asked for information from the public regarding, I think, the water meters or something like that. And there's a follow-up email that you sent out where not everyone responded, and there's going to be some follow-up to that. What specifically is it that you're looking for the benefit of the public?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, and through to the councillor. So that correspondence was related to the water meter program that we're undertaking. So in essence, through the water meter program, there would have been roughly 4 touch points that would have gone through Neptune to the individual houses that we were doing. So we would have done things such as door hangers, and then we would have sent multiple letters to them, more or less saying, you're up for replacement. It's a free service, contact Neptune, schedule it, we'll come replace it for you, and so on. Those letters that are going to be sent or have been sent or will be sent were for people that we did get no response from. So our bylaws read as though it is obviously our infrastructure and you can't prohibit us from replacing it. It's a free service. We'll come and do it for free for you. We just want them to let us in so we can switch it and move on. So the letters are more or less just reminding them that we're trying to do this work as part of the water program. In order to follow our bylaws, you need to let us in so we can replace the water meter free of charge. You just have to go through the contact information, book an appointment, and then it would get swapped.
Okay. Any other questions? We have a recommendation to receive for information. Councillor Daigle, Councillor Keogh, all in favor? Carried. The next one, Felicia, is yours, I believe, and that is for the CIP application for the old barn.
Thank you, your worship, and through you and to members of council here. Tonight in front of you is the report labeled DED 09 of 2025 regarding the CIP application for the Old Barn. So as you would recall, the Old Barn did come to our previous council meeting for their zoning bylaw amendment. And they are just looking to seek 50% of that fee through the CIP. So my recommendation is as follows, that council receives a report DED 09 2025 regarding the CIP application, the Old Barn, for information, and that council award the Old Barn located at 116 James Street, Elsa Craig, with $900 towards the planning and building fee grant for their conversion, expansion, and redevelopment project as per the municipality's community improvement plan.
Thank you. Any questions on that? You have a question? Oh, okay. Moved by Counselor Daigle, seconded by Counselor Nerda. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. The next one is yours as well, I believe, and that is for the CIP application for the Holy Roller Pie Company.
Thank you, your worship, and through you. So this is the new tenant of what was formerly Caddy Shack across the road here. And they put in a CIP application for 50% of their new signage. They just were able to get new inserts for the signage that was already there. So they are just seeking the $1,035.42. So it is the motion and recommendation that council receives report DED 12 2025 regarding CIP application Holy Roller Pie Company for information, and that council award the Holy Roller Pie Company located at 226 Park Hill Main Street, Park Hill, with $1,035.42 for their beautification project as per the municipality's community improvement plan.
Any questions from council on this application? Seeing none, moved by Deputy Mayor Hodgson, seconded by Counselor Nerda. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Felicia. Brandon, the next one is yours, I believe. And that is on the Q4.
So Mayor Ott, members of council, the report in front of you is the Q4 for both the Economic Development Department and the Community Services Department. Just before I get into it, I do want to say we just had Holy Rollers CIP go through. They are somebody who started in our kitchen about 2.5 years ago using our kitchen daily rental as a way to figure out if they could make this thing work or not. And now we've gotten them into a storefront. So that's quite a good transition for us. And that's what we want to see our kitchens used for when they're not busy. Through the department, the economic development side, communications continues to be quite high for us, which is a good thing. It means that we're getting information out. Our community events, we had our volunteer appreciation night, which went over quite well this year, to help showcase the level of volunteerism throughout North Middlesex. We do have our New Year's Eve skate coming up on the 31st of December. Last year, I believe we were somewhere around 750 people come out. So we are looking for large numbers for that again. Felicia and I have formalized our visitation program for businesses. Our first one that we posted was PABA. Councillor Nerda attended with us. And we are expecting the Old Barn to go out this week when Councillor Irwin helped us go to that one. So we are planning to continue those throughout the year next year, one a month. We're trying to get to some of our more rural businesses as well to try and get a healthy mix. Moving into Community Services Department, obviously our parks and open spaces have come to a close for the season. I did want to touch on the canteen because I know that was something different for us this year. They've seen pretty good success through the first quarter for them. We did receive money back from October. They did okay financially, so they're looking at this as something that's going to be a long-term venture for them. The East Williams Optimist Park Kitchen, we did come to a consensus with the Optimist Club on how to go about the range hood issue as there was more things arise. We have found a solution that works for everyone, and we were about half our budget that we came with for the 12,000, so that was good. For facilities, it's just heating season now. So every time you fire up in the facilities, there seems to be some type of heating issues going on. So we've been chasing that a fair bit. And then I did want to highlight that our capital projects, we have the Park Hill Community Center renovation that was complete. The open house is this Saturday from 11 to 2 p.m. I believe I sent all of council an invite. We've also posted on our socials and released a media release. The ribbon cutting will be at 11:15. I will be bringing a report at some point in the new year highlighting where we fell financially on that. And then the West Williams roof replacement, it is not a good time to be doing roofs apparently. So we are pushed back a little bit, but we're still hoping to get this started before the year ends. As you may have seen, there are cards on your desks, access cards. Our JPW software has been going into the facilities. So hopefully by end of week, all of our facilities are up and electronically accessible for us. So that's a big one. And the Elsa Craig Fire Hall renovation, we did have substantial completion on December 8th. So the change rooms are now fully functional and are able to be utilized by the fire department. So any questions, I'm here happy to answer, as is Kent and Felicia. So
Questions on the fourth quarter? Councillor Canellison.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Brandon, I have a couple of comments first I would like to make and then a couple of questions. I noticed in the FICE report that you provided, and thank you very much for that. I read that with a great deal of interest. One of the things that they mentioned there was that there didn't seem to be a business association or BIA, or what, if you will. And that triggered a thought in my mind that I used to go quite almost monthly to the business BIA in Strathroy. It might be worth your while to attend one just to see what they do, because it's very good. It's very good indeed.
So through the mayor to the councillor, we have spoke with Donna Palmer. She's actually came out here a couple of times as the Strathroy Chamber of Commerce. They are rebranding themselves in the new year to the Middlesex Chamber of Commerce, which certainly will help them get a lot more teeth here. We've put a couple local businesses who have tried to get a BIA up here in the last year and a half, 2 years, in touch with them to say, if you can't, maybe you can have a sub chapter of the Middlesex Chamber. So we're aware of them. We're working with them. We hope that might be a solution to no formal BIA. In Elsa Craig, we do have the Village Association that acts as like a quasi BIA, which has been quite helpful for Elsa Craig. However, Park Hill, we lack something like that. So.
Exactly. So now to the heart of my matter, to my questions, okay? Well, I have two questions actually, and I'll present them both simultaneously. You can respond as you wish, okay? So the first one is that I've heard a great deal over the time about agri-tourism, and I'm just wondering what new agri-tourisms have we found or exist in our community? Have we established any new ones? The second one is, when I think of economic development, I think of businesses coming to our community, creating jobs and employment opportunities. And one, I think on the EDAC report, I saw a comment there for future employment, some reserve fund, I believe, for future employment. What employment opportunities have been created by economic development? What businesses have started up with the help of economic development?
So I'll start with your agritourism comment. Our agritourism industry in North Middlesex, we do have some. We had a CIP application come through for a glamping venture, which didn't end up coming to fruition. So that's one that this year we thought may come forth. That's a very popular one at this time. We do have New Moon Farms just outside of Elsa Craig, which is diversified farming where people can come out, spend the day in doing farming and basically follow the process without having to actually have a farm. We do have our Fort Rose Maple Sugar Bush. That's one that we try and promote as best we can. We're thinking about trying to do a business visitation there during their season so that we can highlight them and try and get people out there. They do get a fair bit of tourists from outside. In saying that, we are going through our OP review, so there's language we can use that makes as of right on ag property to try and promote farm tourism if that's the way we wish to go. And then on your other side of it, in terms of job creation, what we've seen is this childcare has been implemented. So that would be job creation. We've seen the Park Hill Meats expand. Vanosh Farms continues to expand. Our best assets are getting out there and making sure that we're supporting them when they get here. If they're knocking on our door, how can we help? Certainly businesses are coming. If you look at storefronts right now, we see the Current is back up and running. We've already talked about Lori Smith, who went from our kitchens and has now established Holy Rollers in a storefront. Just support where we can. And when people are there, knowing what we have available to try and get them in that place. So.
You made a comment in your presentation I found very interesting and it appealed to me, and that is how the roller pie company here, how they started out in our own kitchen. And that triggered a thought of mine that I know in the past we always went to business incubators. And it's something we had always talked about doing, and I know other municipalities have done that. Is there any plans to look at something like that? And another follow-up to that too, in the past, I know that one of our past infrastructure supervisors was looking at the West Williams property for a business situation, or business park, if you will. What's happening with that?
So certainly when we looked at that industrial park, the usage of West Williams was non-existent. So with the rugby club being out there and utilizing recreation property, with Mud Creek being out there as well, our belief is that you don't get rid of recreational property if it's being utilized. If it's not being utilized, certainly. You know, if we had reserves that would allow it and we saw lands that we thought would be good use of an industrial park, certainly we all believe that that's a good thing to have. You know, I see Lucan currently, they've got one lot left in theirs. Strathroy's is full right now. Southwest Middlesex has theirs going. Owning the land and having it serviced is a big benefit to that. And then circling back to your first question, if you could repeat that, because I've went on a little bit here.
Brandon,
I believe it was the incubator program.
Yes,
So,
yes, big.
We've talked about that. Certainly CF Middlesex, Community Futures Middlesex, we've had conversations with them. Right now we already have the industrial kitchens, which is a great spot for somebody in that industry. We're going to work with them to promote it, but certainly we're going to be promoting them in the new year more as an option of come get a business plan with them. If you need a loan with them, let's start there. But if we had a storefront that was available, it would certainly be something interesting to look into.
Thank you for that. That really expands on your presentation. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, need a motion to have this for information. Councillor Canellis and Councillor Irwin, all in favor? Carried. All right, Ashley, you're next, and that is the RTC 2026 Accessibility Compliance Report.
Thank you, and through you, your worship. The report before council tonight is an annual accessibility compliance reporting requirement. So under the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act of 2005, otherwise known as AODA, municipalities are required to submit an annual accessibility compliance report to the province confirming compliance with acceptable accessibility standards. The report is submitted electronically through the provincial reporting system and must be filed by December 31st of this year. So failure to submit the compliance report may result in follow-up by the ministry, potential enforcement action. And as such, the recommendation before council tonight is that council receives the report entitled 2025 Accessibility Compliance Report, and that council endorses the 2025 Accessibility Compliance Report presented and direct staff to submit to the province.
Any questions? Councillor Keel?
Thank you, Mayor. Ashley, the West Williams Hall, as far as the AODA compliance, that was put on hold for a year or two, was it not? And is it currently on hold, or will we do anything with that in the future? I know it's quite a bill of expense because there's not much you can do with that building, but does that affect our what we submit to the government or to the province rather?
Thank you through your worship and to you, the councillor. This compliance reporting focuses on compliance with things such as customer service or employment and training, information and communication, transportation if applicable, and policies and plans. Other standards required for accessibility compliance would fall within the capital project planning. They all do have to be accessible to a standard, but I believe you might be referring to the requirement for all buildings and for municipalities to be accessible by 2024, 25. And I will let the director on that side take this.
Brandon?
So through the mayor to the councillor, certainly we strive to have the best accessibility we can, but obviously it is a substantial cost. A report from the Lieutenant Governor, I believe, was delivered to the province prior to Doug Ford getting there. or very early in his term saying that, you know, if you enforce this AODA compliance, you will see 85% of public facilities shut their door because they can't meet today's standard. The approach that we've been taking, as has the province to this point, is as soon as you make major structural change to a facility, you have to come into today's code. So until then, we're grandfathered, we're okay. As soon as we make what's deemed significantly structural change from an architect's perspective, that's when you have to go to full accessibility throughout your facilities. So. And then just sorry to follow up, West Williams is on the back burner. If there's a grant that comes through, that's a really well-funded grant, we would consider it, but we are not having it near our top of our priority list.
Right. Okay. So no, that's fine. Clarifies everything. I just do remember back a few years ago, everything kind of went on pause. And I just didn't know if that affected what we are submitting. So thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, we have a recommendation in front of us. Deputy Mayor Hodgins, Councillor Irwin, was that, you had your pen up. Were you seconding it or not?
Close enough.
Okay. All in favor? Carried. Ashley, you have one more, and that is for your Q4 report.
Thank you. And through you, your worship, the report before council is the corporate services fourth quarter report for 2025. So during the fourth quarter of 2025, corporate services continued to support the municipality with legislative, administrative, and governance functions. It was a busy quarter with a high volume of council, statutory, and committee meetings, along with progress across several key areas. Staff supported 5 council meetings, 9 statutory meetings under the Planning and Drainage Act, and multiple advisory committees. In total, 27 bylaws, 79 resolutions were processed, ensuring legislative compliance and transparent decision-making. Policy work, agreement facilitation, election preparation continued, including a voter list review, staff training, and procedure development for the 2026 municipal election. Information management remains strong with FOI processing. We do have end-of-year FOI reporting as well. Internal information requests, improvements to records practices with improved formatting and making sure that our FOI process also are accessible. Core services such as licensing, commissioning, cemetery administration, and marriage services continued without disruption. Bylaw enforcement experienced a temporary staffing gap, which we addressed through contracted support with Middlesex Center, as well as support from myself and where I could expend it throughout my department. Enforcement activity followed seasonal trends, with most of 68 new complaints being resolved. Complaints, the breakdown is before council within the report, but when I say seasonal, it means that grass has stopped growing and has been covered with snow. So now we're focusing on other complaints such as noise, animals, parking, and tidy yard does come above the snow sometimes. Looking ahead, the department will focus on election readiness, completing the records retention bylaw review, advancing key bylaw reviews, including parking, and finalizing the recruitment for deputy clerk position, which is underway, and we're making good progress with that. The recommendation before council tonight is to receive the report for information, but I'm happy to answer any questions. And I would echo the comments of my fellow director over there that I'm very thankful for our team, and I thank my department for all of the help and great work this year.
Thank you, Ashley. Is there questions for Ashley on this report? No questions? Moved by Councillor Nerda, second by Councillor Daigle. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report, aptly named housekeeping bylaws, is a pair of bylaws that you see every year. They are 001 borrowing bylaw and 002 the interim levy bylaw. The borrowing bylaw is just a very complicated way of saying that we will not borrow more than we can't repay during the year, as a way of authorizing staff to utilize our line of credit with CIBC if necessary to avoid bouncing any checks that in every now and then we get a little too many all at once when Sam finishes all his work in November all at once. You know, it just happens to us. The second bylaw is the interim levy bylaw, which allows us to bill in February based on last year's levy so that we can actually get the interim bills out and keep the cash flow coming in and keep the operation running while we go through the process of setting the 2026 levy.
Any questions? No questions? Move the report by Counselor Daigle, second by Counselor Nerda. All in favor? And that is carried, and that'll be brought forward in the bylaws. And the next one is yours as well. I believe you're doing them, and that's the fees and charges for 2026.
Yes, this report put together by our Deputy Treasurer Neil Konzelman and a number of the directors is the revised fees and charges for the 2026 fiscal year. I would mention to council that the concept behind fees and charges is predominantly cost recovery of someone who is using a service or a transaction that can actually be pinpointed back to somebody getting a specific benefit. Normally, if people are just getting generic benefits, those are being covered off of the levy. But these are things where you can actually pinpoint that somebody is getting a service specific to themselves, and therefore we do a cost recovery. And again, the focus is cost recovery. We're not a profit-seeking organization, so most of these tend to be basically calculations of how much it costs us to do the work and trying to recover that. Hence, each year as cost of living costs go up, so do our fees and charges. So that's what this motion is about.
Okay, thank you. Questions from council? Counselor Canellis and then Counselor Irwin.
Thank you, Mayor. Ralph, I have a question for you under the Schedule D bylaw enforcement. Item 4.5. It says appeal to property standards committee. Do we have a property standards committee?
I will defer that to the clerk, sir.
Thank you, and through you, your worship. We don't have appointed members to a property standards committee. If we needed and received an appeal to one would be formed and we would appoint members.
Thank you.
Counselor Irwin.
Thank you, your worship. Through you. First off, happy to see that most of our fees didn't go up this year. Some went down. And that's not what we saw in previous years. But I do have a question on Schedule J. And it deals with planning development agreements, site plan control, minor variances, for example, from $500 to $1,500. And rule severance and development agreements from 0 to 500. That seems to be quite high in terms of those two areas. I did have a chance to chat with our director of infrastructure before the meeting, but I'm sure I'd like a public answer to that if I could.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. And through you to the councillor, if council will recall, we had a discussion a while back around the fact that development projects are intended to be self-sustaining and that they should pay for themselves. So the reason that these fees went up was because we get bills from the Asable Bayfield Conservation Authority for their review time, which was not factored into the fees that we had. So with the fee increases, this will now cover the cost that we're incurring from having that third-party review done.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. It's nice to know it's the Conservation Authority that's doing it to us.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? I would just mention we're doing the fees, and you mentioned, Sam, when we were talking about the blue water recycling. Is there a possibility that we provide a service to our residents for leaves in our transfer station for free? Right now it's $15 a truckload or something. I'll just ask you that.
Yeah, through your worship, or to your worship of the council, if that's council's wish, that's certainly what can be done. Yes.
Okay. It would at least be somewhat of a solution towards what didn't happen earlier. And I guess that would be up to council if they wanted to do that. Councilor Nelson.
Mayor Rapp, I agree. I support your recommendation, but would you include branches and limbs?
I think, is that how I would like to know how the transfer station, how do you sort that out?
Through your worship to the councillor. So yeah, the transfer station Brush and leaves are charged the same $15 for that entry fee.
Okay. So I can't make a recommendation. I was putting that out there to see if there's an interest in it. Counselor Irwin.
Well, I'll go back, I'll make this comment first and then make whatever motion or recommendation is necessary. So after the organics proposal was voted down, I was going to recommend bagged drop off for leaves and yard waste depot open to the public in Elsa Craig and Park Hill. And I have raised this issue 3 years in a row, so this will be the 4th year I've raised it. I don't know if this is the point to entertain a motion, or should I wait for urgent business? Certainly the fees on the transfer station is one thing, but having the ability for residents to drop their leaves off bagged with a camera, probably to make sure people don't throw their old doghouse in there or something, would be something that I think would be of interest to our community members.
Okay, so we can look at that through other business,
Okay,
but this would just be in the fees and charges.
well then
That's why I brought it up now.
so you want a motion to recommend,
If council wishes to, I can't make a motion.
I'll
I just
move that.
Your motion is to yard waste, brush and leaves, right?
Right, if that's what I can move at this time, then I'll move that, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Just,
Your
we need a
worship,
seconder and then Counselor Daigle. Okay, Carolyn?
I was just going to mention, your worship, I think what you're suggesting, an amendment to the fees and charges bylaw
Yeah.
to eliminate the $15 for brush and waste, brush and leaves.
Right, that's why I brought it up now before we pass the fees. and-
Right.
Counselor Keough, do you have
I was just gonna clarify that it's brush
Okay.
and leaves
Yeah.
only.
brush and leaves only?
At the transfer station, not drop off.
No,
Correct, at the transfer station.
Okay.
This is strictly on the fees and charges.
Yeah.
Were you wanting to speak on this?
I think that we should look at the recommendation to approve the fees and charges and then consider the amendment through a separate motion, which is what Carolyn just explained. So if we have the motion considered for as is presented and then approved, and then have this
Okay, so-
amendment made into a separate.
Make a motion for the recommendation, second by Counselor Keough, all in favor? Okay, carried. And now we're looking for a second motion, an amendment, and that's moved by Counselor Irwin, and it was seconded originally by Counselor Daigle. Okay, in favor? That's carried. Okay. We have, I believe, one more, Ralph, and that is the development charges for 2026.
Once again, this is a recurring item that comes through each year based on the Watson study that was done in 23 and then repeated in 24. We have the study giving us instructions on how to go about recouping development charges against what they expected our development plans to be over the next decade. And each year that schedule is indexed. It actually was indexed on 2% this year, which is the same percentage that was used across Middlesex by all of the lower tier and the county. So it's just a case of these numbers need to be in place for January 1 for any new charges that go through.
Thank you. Thanks, Ralph. Any questions on this? Seeing none, we're looking for a mover on the recommendation. Counselor Daigle and Deputy Mayor Hodgins, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Committee reports, Lake Huron Primary.
Just had a short meeting, week and a half or 2 weeks ago, tomorrow. And it was just more tidying up, end of year business, nothing urgent, nothing scandalous or anything like that. It was
Okay,
very short.
thank you. Salvo Bayfield. Anything you want to add? Oh, was that intentionally? No. It's
Yes, as you'll see, there's an attached letter of support for the Salvo Bayfield, considering the Conservation Ontario and the transitioning to 7 conservation areas from the 36 that we have now. So I'd like to make a motion that we support that communication.
Make a motion to send that letter.
Yes.
Moved by Counselor Cornelison, seconded by Counselor Irwin. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Anything else?
No.
Blue Water Recycling.
I think you heard it tonight.
Okay. Okay, nothing else to add. Okay, economic development, Councillor Irwin?
You'll see 4 reports there, the October meeting, 2026 meeting dates, minutes, meeting minutes. A minute terms of reference, which only opened up the times of day where the committee can meet, not just exclusively Mondays, everything else is the same. And then there are some recommendations from the Economic Development Committee. The first one was already handled in the manager's report. Construction grants from 5 to 10,000, that was dealt with. Second one is that it's in terms of reference. I'm sorry, and and then I want to talk about the economic development stimulus reserve. So the committee looked at the fact that there are years where we don't spend all the money in CIP. Could we put it in reserve for future use? For maybe that one big project that might come down the line. Now, we don't know what that one big project is, and of course, any money in reserves would have to come back to council for approval. This is just earmarking unspent funds for future use in terms of if we have a particularly busy year or we have one large project that comes forward to council. So that's the first motion that the committee made. And did I miss anything? I'll ask the director.
So, Councillor Canales.
Yes, my question of Councillor Irwin, it says stimulus reserve fund for future employment projects. So is that strictly for employment or just for economic development in general, for like social activities, or what specifically are you talking about?
My light keeps going on and off, excuse me here. No, it's not just for employment, but it is for economic stimulus. But any project comes forward has to come back to council.
Okay, any other questions on this? So this here for the reserve is recommended to go to the budget, correct?
Correct, go to budget.
Okay. All right. Anything else? We have recommendations in front of us. Do we have a mover? Moved by Councillor Keough, seconded by Councillor Irwin. All in favor? Carried. Local school advisory?
As reported at our last council meeting, we have a meeting this Friday, December 19th in the afternoon with the provincial supervisor and with the senior administration of Thames Valley District School Board.
Okay.
I'm happy to hear from council if they have any thoughts on topics that we should be talking about at that meeting that we haven't discussed previously.
Okay. Thank you. Recreation Committee?
Nothing at this time.
Policy Review?
Nothing at this time. Christmas.
Fire Committee?
Nothing at this time.
Community Development Fund? So we did meet on Monday. We met on Monday and did make a recommendation that'll be coming forward to council first of the year, which is earlier than it has been in the past. So thank you to staff for that. What else do we have? Aqua Advisory?
Nothing at this time.
Should we just be removing that committee off the? I haven't,
Your worship, I attended one and there hasn't been one called since, so I'm not sure what's happening with it, but I'll
Okay.
certainly attend if one is called.
the OPP Detachment Board.
The next meeting's in January. I'll supply the council with the dates for the next 4 meetings for the year.
Okay, thank you. Correspondence, Town of Smith Falls, Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund.
Support it.
Support it, moved by Councillor Canalison, seconded by Councillor Nerda. It was kind of like you just want to get it over with. Is that your second? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Other and urgent business. Ralph.
Through you there to the council, there is a bylaw listed 111 of 2025 Service Ontario. It is the issuing office that we run here in this building that the contract with the province is expiring January 31st. So staff has been negotiating a new contract beginning February 1st. I apologize. I was a bit tardy in getting the report through because we were trying to finalize it. The bylaw is required so that the clerk and the mayor may sign the new contract. The most notable thing about the new contract is we are moving away from the piecework remuneration, which we used to receive, to a cost sharing model with the province. So what will be happening is you will see that for Service Ontario in the budgets going forward, instead of the municipality supporting that office to the tune of 16,000 a year, the office will now actually be contributing back to overheads for the building to the tune of about 12,000 a year, since those are now going to be eligible costs in the new model. So it's a bit of a win-win. So we wanted to get it signed before they change their mind.
Absolutely. Any other business? Oh, you have a question on that? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, to our treasurer. How long contract are they looking for?
It is currently proposed as a 2-year contract, which is the same as the one that just expired. So it is a standard that it's every 2 years, but they have been moving all of their municipality-based issuing offices to cost sharing, and hope to keep them open because they've been losing a few of them.
Okay. Councillor Canellison.
I have a question for the treasurer. I
Okay.
think he's prepared. And that is with the council's car allowance. If you could share with us what the amount is and when was the last time it was reviewed?
To the councillor through you, Mr. Mayor. It was last reviewed in 2023 when it was changed from $75 per month to $85. I'm taking from the fact that it was done in the first year of council that it becomes something that happens with each change in council, and your remuneration is reviewed for that council. So I would suspect that the next time it will be reviewed is in 27 with the new council. I would recommend to those that are here at that time that they move away from an allowance, because the auto allowance is deemed to be taxable income. Whereas if you were to move to just a mileage recovery, the way most staff work, then it's not taxable income, but it would be council's choice.
Thank you.
Okay. Other business? Councillor Irwin.
You're under
Other business.
Okay, thank you, your worship. So I'd like to move that, and we take it to budget, that we look at, yard waste and leaf bagged depots in Elsa Craig and Park Hill, similar to the discussion we've had last 3 years at budget time.
So you're asking for a report on it, or you're asking for it to happen?
I'm moving it, taking it to budget, of course, but
Yeah.
I'm moving it, yes.
Okay. Is there a seconder for that? Is there a seconder for that? Yeah, you're seconding it? You're seconding it? Okay. Okay, go ahead.
So are you asking it to be implemented, or do you want staff to bring back a report for the financial implications of doing so?
So it's subject to budget. So I mean, it becomes something that's discussed at the mayor's budget advisory committee.
So we will need response from staff on estimated costs. Councillor Daigle.
I'm kind of wondering, why do we need one in Park Hill Week? The dump is here. The waste site is here right now.
Okay, so thank you. For discussion, what I was considering is what other communities and surrounding communities do, where they have a open on their system drop off. And it works in other communities. They have it cambered, and residents can drop it off more than one day a week or whenever the transfer station is open.
Okay.
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor Hodges.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, I'm open to that. I just would like to see some information from staff, to see where it would go if it was in Elsa Craig, whether it would work in Elsa Craig, just some information, before something like that happened. But I'm in favor.
Okay. Other comments on it? I think the clerk has the wording for that motion.
Thank you. And through you, your worship, to Councillor Irwin, could you please repeat and identify what the terminology for the program would be?
It would be a bagged leaf and yard waste drop-off depots for the communities of Elsa Craig and Park Hill. The depots would be open to the public, daytime hours. We've had staff reports of this in the past, but if we want to revisit a staff report on this, we could certainly do that as part of it as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And through you, your worship. So I'm going to use the terminology bagged leaf and yard waste depot and specify for Park Hill and Elsie Craig daytime hours. And then the recommendation before council would be that council supports submitting to the mayor for consideration in the 2026 mayor's budget a bagged leaf and yard waste depot for Park Hill and Elsie Craig with daytime hours.
Okay, just a minute, Sam.
Yeah, thank you, your worship. And through you, I just want to somewhat temper expectations here. Budget's going to transpire over the next coming months. We will not be able to do any of this without MECP approval, so staff will certainly work on it, and I'm happy to reach out to the ministry, but without any response from them on whether they would or would not permit something, I guess it'll be hard for me to say whether it will or won't be permitted. Costs I can certainly bring forward and options I can bring forward, but as far as approvals, I won't know until the ministry could answer that.
Councillor Irwin.
Yeah, I do recollect previous reports from our director and Try Recycling that said that a bin placed on property would not require those kinds of approvals. And I think it was in a previous report.
Thank you, your worship, and through you. That's interesting because the last I talked to Try about it, I got the opposite answer. So I guess I'll just add that I'm happy to look into it. I'm happy to bring it back, but the last direction I got was that it did require a ministry approval. So I'm happy to look into it and bring it back.
Okay, I would like to see you bring check into that and bring it back.
Yep.
Councillor Cornelison.
Mayor Rob, you may recall, and perhaps Mr. Councillor Keel may recall that there was a depot at the corner of Cassidy and the back road into Nairn a few years ago. And it functioned really, really well. Unfortunately, some people started putting other trash in there like wire fencing and garbage cans and stuff like that. It worked well until it was abused.
That did happen with brush at Elsie Craig as well. People brought other stuff, but that's something that would have to be manned. We'd have to have someone there when it's open. Otherwise they'll drop other stuff. Yep. We do have is there any other comments on it? We do have a motion on the floor. In favor? In favor. Okay. Opposed? Two opposed? Okay, so that motion. So we will wait to hear back from you, Sam, on that and see what. Okay, any other business? Deferred items, communication, including county council. And we're going to hold off on the bylaws until after closed. Okay? And so I'm looking for a motion to go into closed. Councillor Nerda, Councillor Daigle, all in favor? And be it for personal matters about identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, and the security of the property of the municipality of the or local board parking.
Read the motion. You have to read it and pass first.